Hello, everybody, and welcome to Back and Forth. I'm your host, Geckoman. Sitting beside me is our co-host, RogueGambit, whose only crime is transporting pugs across state borders.
You have 24 hours to get these pugs across the border. Vamonos!
To start off our first episode, let's list our top 5 movies from 2021. RogueGambit, would you like to start us off?
I would love to. At number 5, we have Last Night in Soho. I think this movie is beautiful.
Really?
First of all, the visuals of the movie are just. I very few times when I watch a movie, like the visuals, like actually make me like just like happy and excited. But like they did, like so many scenes were just like gorgeous. And then the acting, of course, Anya Taylor-Joy does a superb job acting. I thought Matt Smith did a really good job of playing the villain for most of it. And then
He did great. He did great.
And then the sound design was just phenomenal. Etc. I had very low expectations going into the movie, so that was really nice.
That's understandable.
What do you got?
What do I
Do you
got?
have anything to say about me having that? That's apparently surprised you.
I'm just surprised that you put it in your ranking. I wasn't expecting you to put it in your ranking.
I almost took it out after watching The Last Duel, but I did not.
Yeah. I hear The Last Duel is good, so I need to watch it. For my ranking, number 5 is possibly going to surprise you as well. I have Dune as my ranking 5.
All right. I expected it to be in your list, and I expected it to be low, so it wasn't not too surprising.
Well, the reason is so first off, my good things about it is like it's not a bad movie. It is a very good movie. Visually, it can be visually stunning at a lot of moments in it. The world was pretty amazing.
Mm-hmm.
The one problem I see in it is we didn't really have time to connect with a lot of the characters.
Yep. So before you move on any further, I guess I'll say my number 4 because my number 4 was Dune.
Okay.
And I agree, visually gorgeous. I also agree that yes, the way that they introduced characters, right? It was kind of hard to really feel a lot of the characters, like feel what they were feeling. But I do feel like they did a really good job with a couple of them, mainly Jason Momoa's character. Whatever, like putting you in the place of the main character, Timothy Chalamet's character. And so you really felt like what he felt when things happened to his character. Oh yeah. But aside from like him and kind of Oscar Isaac's character through the start of the movie, besides them two, like yeah, I really don't feel much for any of the characters, especially the main like two, like Zendaya's character and Timothy's character. I really didn't feel like I felt their story as much as I hoped.
You don't see Zendaya's character until the very end.
Right, but I do feel like she's kind of like the other main character.
Yeah, true.
Like following.
I mean, so yeah, the other reason why it didn't reach anywhere else in my ranking was because of his flashbacks, or well, not really flashbacks, but his flash forwards, yeah,
like
his
fate vision or whatever,
premonitions of the future.
Yes.
Actually did not understand it. I've never read the book, so I never understood why.
I haven't read the books either. I watched the original movie, but I didn't really have. Yeah, they were confusing, but I really liked. The one thing I liked about them was the visuals in all of them. Like you really like felt like you were in a premonition. It wasn't like this like.
I mean, I like was just completely confused.
But each of them had like a distinct style that was different than the rest of the visuals of the movie, right?
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yes.
And then I also liked how they like changed, but they didn't seem like they were like at the end, right? You realize that they're different outcomes that can happen, but at the same time, like they gave you more of a story each time. It wasn't like they're just like showing you different choices that could be made. It was like showing you like building upon the story with each one. But yes,
Yeah,
I mean, it was a really good movie.
Oh yeah,
You have a 5 out of 4. Those are still in the top 5. So, all right, what's your number 3?
What about my number 4? I had a number 5.
What's your number 4? What's your number 4?
Hey, I'll go to the number 3. I think you would like to hear my number 4 first.
Probably.
It is the Mitchells versus the Machines.
All right.
Funny movie.
Oh, that's hilarious.
Hilarious. When we first watch it, I was scared to death because a lot of comedy movies for me scare me because they can just be completely ruined for me.
Mm-hmm.
But it was good. The story was good. The reason it's my number 4 though is it's because it's a comedy. I'm not the biggest fan of comedies, but I am so much of a fan that I will put them in a top 5 if they are good.
Yeah, I really liked the movie. It didn't quite make it into my top 5.
We all know how that happened.
Actually, I think the main reason it didn't make it in the top 5 is that I've only seen it once, and it was April or whatever when I watched it, and so it's been a really long time, and it just like it. Thinking about it, I really, really loved it. Loved the movie. It just didn't really I literally when I made the list, I wasn't thinking about it until you mentioned it to me. It's kind of a little forgettable. I think if I rewatched, if you had mentioned it, 2 days ago, and I rewatched it, might have snuck in there because it is a hilarious movie, and I do not find many movies funny. Just the beats of the comedy were really good.
Oh yeah.
The main character is not generally, and once again, not a character I really like. The little outcast character that I generally don't like those characters, but I thought they played her really well.
Oh yeah.
And the family story was really fun. I like the mother, the father, both the kids loved all the characters, and the story was towed the line between cheesy and not enough that it was a really fun movie.
Yeah, which again it goes into my top 4 because it did a very good job with each of with a lot of the characters, with especially the whole this family feud, all that.
It's very nice. All right, so
your number 3.
Yeah, my number 3. So Dune was my number 4. My number 3 is A Quiet Place 2.
That's right. Continue.
So for me, I have a soft spot for the Quiet Place movies. Loved the first one, of course. The second one I don't think is nearly as good as the first one.
I can agree with that.
But I still think it's a really, really good movie. Mainly because of it. So the first one, right? It took a genre of movie that never has really told a story that way. There's been other genres that use the family dynamic and the drama style in them, and even some of them have used silence as a tool and sign language and things, but horror really hasn't done that. And they did it, but they didn't just do it, they did it so well.
They do it,
and once again, that really carried over in the second one. That aspect of it, the sound design was once again phenomenal. The silence, just the silence, the dread was still done really well. It was more of a generic horror, which is why it's not as good as the first one in my opinion. The beats of the horror were really, really predictable. But and then another thing that the first one did really well, the second one did really well, is the acting was so good.
I can agree with that.
Cillian Murphy, Emily Blunt, they both do a really good job. Both the kids, Noah Jupe or whatever, Noah Toop, I don't remember, something like that. And then the guy's name is Millicent Simmons, yes, the deaf girl who I really want to see her in some a different franchise really bad because I mean that role is made for her, right? But in a different dynamic, I think would be really fun. But anyways, that movie really good. Love the story, even though the story is predictable.
Oh yeah.
Even though the jump scares were all predictable, like they all were still really, really, really fabulous. The story is so good. I love the ending, even though it's kind of cheesy.
Oh,
I
it
love
was
the ending.
so cheesy for me. Way too cheesy. That's why I'm gonna say this. It did not make my top 5.
All right, well, that's fine. All right, so that's
Well, so quick little backstory for number 3 is when I was trying to decide this movie, I wanted to put it at number 2, but it was competing with another movie. So I decided to put this at number 3 because the other one is so good. So number 3 for me is the James Bond movie, No Time to Die.
Okay.
Such a good movie. Like Daniel Craig as James Bond
Mm-hmm.
in that movie, especially. Like,
Yep.
I understand his previous James Bond movies may not have been the best. But this one, I feel like he really nailed it as James Bond.
Yeah, I love him as James Bond in that movie.
Yeah.
I think he really of all of his movies, like he really comes into the character of James Bond really well in it.
And he does. I think he just does. He just wraps it up so well at the end. Like glorious.
Mm-hmm.
It was glorious. The opening was glorious as well. Like it almost the entire movie was really good. It wasn't slow paced. Didn't really feel like it was a slow paced movie. It also didn't really feel like a super fast paced movie. Mm-hmm. It was just the pace of a James Bond movie.
Yeah.
Like
I think those are all great points for that movie. So it does not make it into my top 5. Mainly, like it's one like for me it had a really high bar to meet because like I love Casino Royale and I love Skyfall. And like yes, I think like you said, he comes into his James Bond character really well. But the story itself was like I just felt like it's been told many times and like especially in that genre, and it did it really well. Like I don't think it's a bad movie by any stretch. I loved like it's one of the most enjoyable movies I've watched. Mm-hmm. But like I watched it a second time, I don't know, month and a half ago, and it just I don't know, it was hard not hard to watch again. Like I still enjoyed it, but like it didn't, like watching it again didn't like give me the same like feeling and stuff. So I think if I hadn't watched it again, I might have just like the experience of watching the movie theater might have put it in my top 5. Like watching it again, I just didn't. And like I don't even like you just talked about the ending. Like, I don't even remember the ending, even though I watched it more recently than some of these movies. Like for some reason, like I don't know, it was a little forgettable the second time. But I really liked the movie a lot.
Yeah.
Once again, another amazing soundtrack. That'll be a theme through my list here. They all had incredible soundtracks.
It did have a great soundtrack. But that goes back to why it's in my top 3 though, and why it didn't actually make number 2 for me. Was the bad guy was just like
I mean he literally was like Quantum Solace bad guy.
Yeah, exactly.
And, Spectre bad guy, written again. Yeah,
and it would have been nice to see possibly the bad guy alone doing everything. That would have been interesting.
That would have definitely been interesting.
But yeah, so I think, but all in all, I think it was a really, really good movie. Soundtrack was amazing. Oh, you know what? I'll just throw it in. Glorious as the ending and the opening, and like a lot of the scenes, the ending fight scenes of James Bond just going through and taking on all those guys was amazing. But yeah, that's what I have as number 3.
Well, I'm almost positive that our number 2 and number 1 movies are identical.
All right,
you could go ahead and say your number 2 movie.
Are you sure? Do you want to say it first? Because if you think they're identical,
go ahead. Go ahead.
My number 2 movie, and I don't know. So once I put this in number 2, my thought process of putting No Time to Die number 3 was like, why did I ever compete this with this movie? Is Wrath of Man.
Well, that's my number 2 movie. Um, I had a really hard time not putting this movie number one, especially after we watched it that second time. Like, and it is 100% just the soundtrack that would have put it number one over number two. It's 100% the soundtrack that puts it like number two. Like, it is the soundtrack to that movie is second to none. Like, it is everything about that movie is made better because of the soundtrack. The soundtrack, like that soundtrack could have been like freaking put to Eternals and it would make Eternals better. Like that soundtrack is just so good. And then on top of that, I love how I can't every character in that movie like is so archetypal. Like I don't feel like I'd like that. Like each character, like you don't really get to know any of them except the main character, and even the main character, like they don't even like give you the backstory of him. Like you just like thrown in, and so like all of them have to be really archetypal for you to like know who they are. But each character just like is like I still care about like all of them, and like
and which is why it makes it such a good movie, as well as you are loving it as further down you go. and it possibly has possibly I don't want to say the best, but one of the most amazing opening scenes.
Yeah, that opening scene. So when I watched it in theaters, I got in a little late, and so it's just like you see this. It literally looks like a camera like sitting on something in the truck, right? Like pointing out. And I figured I'd miss something like big. I was like, you hear gunfire going on. Like I figured I'd miss like them showing you the main character or whatever. But then when I watch it again, I'm like, no, like you have no clue what the heck's going on. You don't know if you're like, you don't even know what type of movie it is yet. Like you just like hear gunfire and it's like I guess you do know it's a robbery. Well, but so besides that, it gives you no indication of the main character. It doesn't give you any motivation. It doesn't and it's kind of like what the whole movie is like. That's not what matters about that movie. Though what matters about that movie is like the story and just like the build and the build and and then just like the visuals, the couple long takes in there. I love the camera work in that movie.
But yeah, I love the camera work, a lot of it. But my favorite camera work was the very beginning, was that opening scene, because it gives you enough information to know, okay, there's a robbery happening. This guy just got shot. This guy is doing something. You hear gunfire. You don't know what's going on, and then you basically just go in blind.
Another thing that I really like about the camera work is whenever you're in the headquarters, whatever the heck, the headquarters there, like how like claustrophobic almost it feels. Like everything feels so tight in there with the camera, and it kind of like in the truck they do the same thing where like you feel like you're kind of in there with them, and it's just like so tight and like
well, yeah, that's why I was like starting to crumple up when I was in there.
Like I really like that about the camera work in that movie too.
Now, shall we talk about the next best thing about that movie?
Sure.
Possibly it's actually the best thing of that movie, the soundtrack. How every time that soundtrack played, or Ace part of the soundtrack played, it was hitting those moments.
Yeah. Oh man,
so good.
And that cello in the background, just like and especially in theaters, that thing just hits you like a ton of bricks. Like every time you just like start sweating. You're just like, oh my goodness, like. Oh, and it doesn't let up. It's like every song, like, you know, it kind of trails off and then it just comes back at you. Like, it's the same way, like, each scene was. And that was another thing that, like, it expands a long time. It's a fast paced movie, kinda, but it never feels like you're rushing. And I think that's all because of the soundtrack being slow. Like, each song is like, it's not like a fast paced soundtrack. It's not like a chase movie, you know. It's like, or like a lot of heist movies, like a lot of them have these like upbeat soundtracks. It's like, no, it's just like, you know, just like powerful and slow and just like just so much suspense in that movie.
Oh yeah.
For like such a simple story, just like a little revenge story, you know?
Yeah, it was. And then also, I also want to say that so usually with like going like time jumps when we're going back in time and seeing what's going on and trying to understand what's happening, a lot of times they just kind of force stuff down your throat.
Right.
And these, I felt like I got.
It was like you were just like kind of just like learning. Like
Yeah,
it was like you were
exactly.
like it was almost like they're walking you through something instead of like telling you something. It wasn't like exposition dumps at you. It was just like you're walking through living life with him and his son,
Yeah,
or
and
like him and his buddies or whatever.
and the way it just ends at that final moment of the robbery that we see in the opening, and we kind of get a more understanding of what it is every single time we go back.
Mm-hmm.
And also the ending was pretty good. Was actually
The ending for me is kind of. Uh, 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 it's probably my least favorite part of the movie, though it's really good. It's fun or it's fine. Um, I really like how it takes you out of, and I've mentioned this about movies before, where it takes you out of the situation you've been in the whole time, right? You've been inside this world, inside the, money transporting world, inside him going through it, him trying to find these people. And now that he's accomplished that, he's found that it takes you outside that world, and now you're inside this guy's house, right? And you're seeing him go through his day. I think I would have liked it if I'd never seen that apartment before. If they had never shown me that that's where that guy lives. If it had taken me out of that world and put me in a new building that I'd never seen before, and it shows you this is where he lives, and now he's coming into his house to kill him, then I think I would have liked it more. But because they had already shown me that, it was almost part of the world, and so it didn't take me out, and like it wasn't as drastic as I would have liked. Because it doesn't give you that. You'd breathe a huge sigh of relief at the end, right?
Oh, yeah,
the suspense is over. He's done it. You feel it for him. You feel it for all, like his crew, right? You feel it for all of it. Like we're going back to normal, and then and I do really love the talking to the FBI guy at the end, right?
Oh yeah,
that's really good. But the fact that we had seen I don't know that before, kind of is annoying. Yes, and also the only reason we had seen it is to try to build up this character of like being reckless and stuff that was already built up.
It was pretty built when we were.
We knew who he was. We knew he was going to be the one spending the cash. We knew he was going to be the one who recklessly pulls his gun. He knew he was going to be the one who recklessly shoots people. Mm-hmm. We didn't need that scene. If that scene wasn't in it, I guess that would be my least favorite scene. If that scene wasn't in it, then the ending scene is. It might even be number one movie. That ending scene is incredible.
Okay. That makes a lot of sense. Now,
anything else you want to say about it?
Or
are we going to honorable mentions? I have 3 honorable mentions.
Yeah, of course.
I guess 4. I should have put James Bond as an honorable mention because I almost put it in my top 5, but then I kind of forgot when I wrote my honorable mentions.
Yeah, I think that would be.
So what are your honorable mentions?
So I actually have only one honorable mention.
Okay.
Actually, I'm sorry. I actually have 2 honorable mentions. I had forgotten I put this in my honorable mentions. The reason this is in my honorable mentions and not in my top 5, and this was in your top 5, is Last Night in Soho. And the reason is, while yes, I loved everything about it, it was kind of the classic slasher film.
Yeah. That's the reason I did have it out of my top 5 for the most time I was making the top 5. And then I almost put it number 3. Just thinking back to how gorgeous the movie was. But yes, I completely understand it not being in top 5. I really struggled with it between The Last Duel, which is one of my honorable mentions. The reason Last Duel doesn't make it in is, first of all, I literally just watched it, so I didn't want like recency bias to like play into it. Yeah. And yes, The Last Duel had some incredible acting. The soundtrack was good, not great. It was just the storyline. There was just some really forced moments, especially in the third act. That you haven't seen it, so I don't really want to give stuff away. But there was just some really forced moments that didn't need to be there, to tell the story. If they weren't there, I think the movie is much better. And so the third act drug on and on for me. But then of course it kind the I don't know if the slowness of the third act made the final battle better or worse. I don't know, but the final battle was spectacular. Really enjoyed it. I love how they do build up through the three acts. I had no clue who was going to win the final battle at the last duel, you might say. I had no idea who was going to win it, which I did not expect when I went in. I was like, the whole movie, I was sure I was going to know who was going to, and I just never, like, each time they tell the story, you're just like, I don't know. Like, you know who's supposed to be the good guy, of course, but you felt like he could lose and it could still be a redeeming story. But, which I think it could have. But they don't do that. And it's still, yeah, spectacular.
Okay.
What's your other one?
My other one is actually going to be the Justice League movie Zack Snyder cut.
Okay. Why is that an honorable mention?
It's just an honorable mention for me, mainly because of the fact that one, it is I want to say it is a lot better Justice League movie than the first time you see it.
Mm-hmm. It is definitely better.
While yes, there was a lot of scenes in it that were just unnecessary.
Mm-hmm.
I felt like why it reaches my honorable mention is because the fact that our heroes had to do the. I want to say all the heroes had a part to play in the whole plan that was being put to defeat.
Yeah.
I haven't seen it in a long time, but
Okay.
That's what I want to say. I can't remember if that's true or not, but
yeah,
that's what I want to.
I mean, if that's how I kind of remember too. Which is, I'd say, yeah, is there definitely a redeeming quality of it compared to the first one.
Okay.
I just that movie was so boring.
It was.
It does.
Boring.
Yeah, it didn't make my honorable mentions. I don't know. It was really long.
It was long.
And I did not mind long movies, but that movie was so long. All right. So for me, Mitchell's vs. Machines was an honorable mention once you reminded me of it and I thought about it. It's just fun movie. And then my other honorable mention is The Guilty, which is a Netflix original with Jake Gyllenhaal that
Really?
came out a little bit ago. Yeah, I always like those type of stories where it's like one guy you really see the whole time, like just like the world affecting him affecting the world. I really like a lot of movies that are set in one building the whole time, or one car, one room, or classics like Rear Window and 12 Angry Men and stuff. And as I said before with Wrath of Man, something I guess I won't give that away, but because you guys might watch this, but you might watch it. But the ending is the reason it's not in. Didn't make the top 5. I don't know if it would have if the ending was spectacular. It could have made the top 5, but the ending is definitely the weaker part of it. They don't take you out of like the situation nearly well enough for you to feel like the movie has accomplished what it was supposed to. Really? But it's a good movie, a fun watch for sure. Okay, Jake Gyllenhaal, of course, does a spectacular job. And
now we go on to number one.
I'm guessing we have to say number one since it has not been mentioned yet.
I'm assuming so. So, do you have Spider-Man No Way Home?
Yes. Spider-Man No Way Home, definitely the best movie. Well, I just said that.
No, really fast.
Wrath of Man almost beat it, but no, it didn't almost beat it.
I wanted to say something because I was like, for me, it did not beat it at all.
It was a hard, like, as much as it was an easy decision, it was just a hard of a decision, if that makes sense. Like,
okay,
when I think of Wrath of Man, I think, oh man, it was so good. Like, it was better. But like, no, Spider-Man No Way Home was incredible.
All right.
Why was it so good? Why was it the best movie of 2021?
Well, shall we all go to our favorite actor?
The acting was definitely, yes. The acting in that movie was the reason it was that. Like, I think literally acting is the only thing I wrote under it. Like, Willem Dafoe literally just And I actually should say, don't even bring him up yet. It all starts with Alfred Molina.
Oh yeah.
When he freaking comes on the scene, it just makes every MCU villain for freaking 25 movies look like chumps. Like he just brings you into that movie like so well. Like you are not like uh, when I felt like I knew we were gonna meet them early. Like they've written this story since Endgame where like within the first 15 minutes, like you're really thrown into something. Like it almost ends the first act within the first 15 minutes. Every MCU movie since Endgame's been that way. And I knew that was coming, but I did not expect it to start with just like this. It was almost like a witty banter, like that was so good.
Something I want to say though for the acting, and we've it like it levels up. It goes to a higher level.
Yeah. So it's like I don't know. I've never thought it's like Andrew Garfield. I've never thought he's a good actor, but he freaking acted like nobody's business in that movie. You felt so much like I didn't. I knew there was going to be some redeeming scene with him, saving somebody.
Oh yeah.
Didn't know it was going to be Zendaya, but I didn't think I was going to feel it like that. Like I didn't care about his Spider-Man. Didn't like either of them. Don't think he's a good actor, but he acted so well. He just like you felt so much of him and like his interactions with like he was sometimes like the best at like portraying the camaraderie of any of them that you just like felt like how much I don't know how much like things meant to his character.
Oh yeah, like
just as much as any of the other ones that I cared way more about. And then like Tobey Maguire, like it's been years. Yes, I have a ton of nostalgia for his character, but it's been years since I've felt his character. But like the instant he walks on, just the way he carried himself, he just like it's just like he walked in and was playing like he was the same character again. And like the ability to do that
is pretty difficult.
So good. Anyways,
but yeah, and for me mainly, why I really thought that the acting, while yes, it was Andrew Garfield that really showed that level up of acting, as well as what's his name who played Electro.
Oh,
we're gonna have a big brain wall block on this.
Yes. He does an incredible job. Oh, Jamie Foxx. Yes, Jamie Foxx. And like he's a great actor. He was just given junk to work with, and
and which really shows that. I feel like which really shows how the MCU has become so. I want to say glorious, but I don't think that's the right word.
Yeah, it's just like it's not putting out. Yes, it's putting out junk movies, but it's like no, it's like it's getting the best actors, right? It's getting it's getting really good screenwriters. It's getting really good directors. It's like it's trying new things, but it's also like has tried and true methods that it's like it's gonna go with, and like and that like really showed in this movie with yes, the classic actors, and then just like really good screenwriting. Like no scene felt like it's doing a lot, but like no scene felt like unnecessary. Even the more humorous elements of it just like took you in and out of the story and the plot just like well enough to like keep you interested. And that also goes to another great acting performance, Benedict Cumberbatch. Like, yes, he's an incredible actor. He's played Doctor Strange. This is fifth time now. And he just like his character has changed a lot since the first Doctor Strange movie. But at the same time, like it's like him as an actor is like push the character as much as like the plots have, I feel like, and like it all came to like a head there, and like I can't even wait for like to see what he does in the Multiverse of Madness. But like his acting was so good, just like he had some of the funniest lines and some of the most serious lines, and they just each one of them hit so well.
Oh yeah. Now, shall we talk about the golden part of this movie?
Willem Dafoe,
William Dafoe.
The man literally can act like everybody knows he's a great actor. And everything I've ever seen him, even in junk movies like Aquaman, like he's just such a good actor.
Oh yeah.
And and like in this like star-studded cast, he was literally ahead above everybody.
Yes, and he plays Goblin so well.
Yes, and like just okay, the fact that were annoyed with him breaking the mask. I've seen tons of people talk about how they were annoyed with it. He was so much better without the mask.
I agree.
Being able to see his face and see just like that he was Goblin, like that Norman Osborn was the Green Goblin now. Like,
oh yeah,
was such a good stylistic choice in the movie, but it just let Willem Dafoe just like he was on a playground just messing around. Like I was like, you were in an acting class 1 second, then you just in awe the next second.
Yeah.
Like, oh my gosh. The fact that he did all those stunt work, most of the stunt work himself, and he refused to let his stunt do. He's like, I wanna feel what he's feeling. And that fight scene, that's that one long take in the thing. That take that literally they come outside the building, no cuts the whole way, and they wrap it around, and he is just taking a beating that whole time and just literally laughing at the movie and like Willem Dafoe to do that.
What really like sold me on the whole Spider-Man movie was the fact that the way he entered at the Statue of Liberty, his laugh just echoing throughout.
Yeah. Yes.
Was so good.
Yes, we weren't supposed to talk about this movie too much at this point.
Yeah.
So, any last comments before we move on?
Let's move on before we.
Yes. We should save talking about the final fight scene for later. But let's move on. But speaking of No Way Home, MCU, let's rank the all MCU media and TV shows, movies from 2021.
Yeah, and let's have it be known real fast that I did barely any work on this.
Yeah, so I'll give my ranking, and you can give your thoughts on each movie if you've seen them. I think you have not seen all these.
If it's
number 10, my number 10 you have not seen, but I think you've seen the rest. So number 10 is the worst by far. Is Venom, Let There Be Carnage.
From what I hear, horrible movie.
Yeah, the movie's terrible. I didn't hate the first Venom movie. It's not really my cup of tea, the comedy. Tom Hardy's a great actor, and I think he does a fine job playing the character. It's just Venom's character is so boring. And then once again, Woody Harrelson, great actor. Love him. Love him as an actor. Carnage was so boring. The movie, like, I didn't care what happened. I wasn't entertained really. I laughed here and there. And then the CGI mess of the final fight scene. Yes, there was aspects that looked good, but none of it looked great. And when you're having like CGI battle like that, you're spending so much money on, like, you have to have a better CGI work than that.
Oh yeah.
All right. Yeah. So that's all I care to say about that movie. It's garbage.
That for me, that's understandable.
So number 9, Eternals.
So really fast, I just want to point out that if Venom Let There Be Carnage is number 10 and Eternals is number 9, I am terrified to watch Venom now.
I mean, they suffer from very similar things. The only thing that puts it like above is the first act of Eternals isn't terrible in my opinion. Like, it's bad. It was boring. But it's just like how long the middle act was and then how terrible the third act and the ending of that movie is what makes it so bad. But the first act was good enough. Like, at least I was kind of intrigued in learning some more about the characters.
Yeah.
Let There Be Carnage, I didn't care to, like, I would just like, it could have ended at any point, and I wouldn't have cared any less. There was no, I never wanted to learn anything more about any of the characters. Whereas in the Eternals, at least, like I was like, okay, this, the guy who plays in Dunkirk, I thought he did a really good acting job, and I kind of wanted to like learn what happened to his character. Is just like you learn nothing about his character all the time, which was a little frustrating.
That was.
And then
like
Sprite was a little interesting, and her ending was terrible, but like her character was kind of interesting. Um, and like all the characters, I thought a lot of the characters were interesting, and I wanted to learn more. It's just like where they chose to go with all of them was poor choice, except maybe a Dunkirk guy.
If you guys really want to know how he is right now, he is waving his head all over the place.
Yeah. Anyways, so yeah, terrible movie. I'm not interested to see where they go with them in the MCU. I'll watch the movies, but I think based on who they are and based on how much they had to like retcon things in the MCU, I think it can really only be negative for the MCU. So I hope they don't play a big role in things to come. But if they do, well, that's all right. Number 8. We're going sticking with movies here.
Oh, really?
Black Widow.
I actually forgot about this movie. I'm surprised I did.
And it's another one very similar to Eternals, where the first act I like the first act a lot. This is why it's ahead of Eternals. Because I like the first act more than I like the first act I like the first act of Black Widow more than I like the first act of Eternals. The first act's really good. I like that family story that they start telling. Mm-hmm. And then it just goes off the rails with a villain that you don't even feel as villainous, has apparently no effect on the world whatsoever, but is this mastermind villain. And then Taskmaster, who you feel no threat from because Black Widow beats him every time they fight.
Oh yeah. I wanted Taskmaster to be someone who is like
menacing,
yes. Very difficult to fight, but he
wasn't. It was just like, and then the story being written, the time period it's written in, just like changes so many things in the MCU that they don't even care to like mention. It just is an unnecessary movie that would have been maybe a good movie if it was written in the 1980s, 1990s, early 2000s before the MCU started. If they did a better job than freaking Captain Marvel did of writing it in that time period, it could have been a good movie in my opinion. But it was not. It was terrible. Yeah. The soundtrack, I will say the soundtrack to that movie is a fun soundtrack. It's not a good one, but it's a fun one. So number 7, we get our first entry of TV shows here with Falcon and the Winter Soldier.
Really? It's at number 7?
At number 7.
At number 7.
And it's another one. The first episode, good. Maybe even great. After the first episode of that movie, TV show, terrible. I really thought I was going to like it going in. I didn't have high expectations. I had expectations for Winter Soldier since I like him so much. I love Sebastian Stan as an actor. Love his character. But I thought they did a fine job with him. With it, like his character, his storyline was all right. But there is just like so much exposition, just talking and talking, and like, and like, what can I think of his name? Evil Captain America.
Oh,
John Walker.
John Walker. Yeah, I knew that.
I like his character a lot. Think he might be the most interesting character of the whole show. But like, they just really go nowhere for like 5 episodes and then cram a ton in the last couple episodes. And so, yeah. I mean, I'd watch that first episode over and over again. But besides that, don't really like it.
That's understandable. For me, I was actually, while yes, I was annoyed with a lot of like everything else in the show. I was very annoyed with the super soldiers, and I'm doing air quotes here, the super soldier villains.
Yeah. I mean, and that was another thing. After the first episode, I really thought I'd like them. Like the whole concept of them wanting to get back to how the way the world was in the blip. Interesting concept. Execution of it, just terrible.
Oh yeah.
I literally didn't care I didn't care what happened with them, and then the other storylines I kind of cared about, but they didn't really go anywhere. Like I feel like they ended and started at the same point, even though we had episode after episode about them.
Oh yeah.
So number 6, going back to movies, Shang-Chi.
Oh, Shang-Chi.
Um,
Silence.
okay, so going with my theme for movies so far, first act I thought was good, maybe even great. Second act, not terrible, like not good, but like had some really nice fight scenes in it. I do like the wide shot fight scenes that they did.
Oh yeah.
The long takes.
So
The slow motion was really bad though in them, and then that third act was horrible. And then the only thing that maybe was worse than the third act was every character aside from Shang-Chi. Every one of them was just not fun, not funny. That movie is not funny.
Oh yeah, no.
And they forced so much humor in that movie that was not even close to fun. I don't think I laughed the whole movie. I may have it was the humor was so bad in that movie. The just forcing of characters too. Like every character you meet, they had to give a backstory to, had to have a flashback about,
Yep.
and then they've just like forced so much about the characters. Yeah. Um, this it's like it's the one that like it makes it up there just because there was some really cool things they did with that movie, but the actual making of the movie, it's one of the worst. Like the screenwriting in that movie, the dialogue in that movie, the character development in that movie, the soundtrack in that movie was so repetitive. It was just like not a good movie in so many aspects. I do like the character of Shang-Chi for the most part, and then the ingenuity of the fight scenes is really the only thing that puts it up as high as it is.
Kind of interesting that you put it there. And yeah, while the ingenuity was pretty good,
Mm-hmm.
the the that one, it was mainly the side characters for me.
Yeah.
A lot of the side characters were just
So
and not only that, in it was I was having this feeling of there was supposed to be a giant fight at the end.
yeah.
It was pretty
There
bad.
was a giant dragon at the end, that's for sure. Yeah.
So,
CGI mass fight scene at the end, yeah.
yeah.
And like none of the characters do any. I don't think any of the characters get like a wrap up of their story at the end.
I think
So
one side character did.
Yeah, I was like,
It was what's her name?
why did we spend so much time with exposition about these side characters if then at the last we just forget about them?
Yeah.
Hated it. All right. Maybe anything else you want to say about it?
I mean, there were a lot of colors.
It was bright. Oh, and then that reminds me, his freaking outfit so poorly done.
It was
Like I've never wished for a CGI costume in my life, but they just need to make that CGI if they were going to have this whole CGI battle at the end. It looks so bad, and the movement of it was so clunky. I did not like his suit he put on at the end at all.
We should be. I'm hoping to be a new suit when we see him again.
I mean, he needs one bad. Right. So yeah, moving on. Number 5. What if?
What if?
This is one that could easily have been number 1, no number 2. This could have these next 4 are all very interchangeable in my opinion, and they're all TV shows. We all know what's number 1. No Way Home. Yeah. But what if it's just not congruent enough for it to like be higher? There's episodes I loved. Zombie episode, great.
Yeah.
Ultron episode, fantastic.
Well, technically, there's 2.
Doctor Strange episode, pretty good. And then there's other ones that just were clunky, Yeah, didn't need to be necessary. Like all of them, I'm interested in where it goes afterwards. Like season 2, I think it's gonna be really interesting. The spin-off shows with Sharon Carter, even though I didn't like her character that much, the episode was all right. I am definitely interested in where they go with that character, and if they do the spin-off show that I've heard about. And then all the characters, I'm definitely interested in where they go with them. Looks Like I should, I will not say that. Sorry, I almost said something. Don't want to give anything away about any movies.
Moving on.
Moving on. Yeah. So, and yeah, I'm really interested in where all the characters go. But you know, there was just episodes that were not as interesting as the others, and that's kind of
Interesting. Okay,
why
okay.
I'm really regretting that I didn't put it over this next one. But number 4 that I now think should be number 5. Now that I think about it, even more.
Uh-oh.
I don't know. I flip flop. I flip flop these so many times. It's Loki. It can. Yeah. I mean, it's very similar. Episodes I loved. Episodes I didn't like.
Yeah.
Tom Hiddleston does a great job. Love him as an actor.
Great.
His character was good, really good. Miss Minutes was the second best character.
It's also nice to see Loki again.
Yeah, seeing Loki, and like it was just a really fun show. I just think that Lady Loki was poor casting. First of all, did not like the casting choice there. Didn't like her. Didn't like her character. Didn't like where they went with her character. I really like the fact that like Loki falls in love with himself. I think that's funny. But like I didn't like him falling in love with her. Like I just didn't like her.
Okay.
And then the ending was a little too predictable, like kind of good.
Definitely was predictable.
And then just so much exposition. And like I knew that they had to have that exposition. Like I don't think it was a bad choice to have it. It was just like so much of it in that final episode and kind of boring. And I think I like what it does for the MCU. Bringing in like, you know, the multiverse, all these different possibilities, Kang the Conqueror. I think that's all good. But
I will always have a love for King the Conqueror.
Yeah, I mean, me too. Like, I think it's a really good villain. I think that's all good, but like, there's a lot of plot holes I could see coming from it, and that could be very negative.
Okay.
Yeah. Any other thoughts?
While yes, I do love seeing King the Conqueror, and as much as I want to see him as the final boss in this second phase, or whatever phase we're at in this whole Marvel, he probably won't be.
I mean, he could. I don't know. He could be.
I see him as just a villain. As I've been watching these Marvel movies, I see him more as just a villain as Loki. While yes, I do love Loki. I loved Loki in almost the entire show. Yes, I was not a fan of Lady Loki. What about the whole scene with the other Lokis?
Super great. I liked it. I like that world a lot where they were. I liked seeing all of them. I like, you know, the exploration of the characters. They like explore them enough without, you know, too much.
Oh yeah.
I definitely want to see some more exploration into a couple of them, and I'm sure we will in season 2. But yeah, I mean, it was a lot of fan service, and I liked it.
Yeah, I mean the one scene where that one Loki just brings up this giant Asgardian illusion.
Yeah,
was pretty good.
was cool.
Your next ranking.
All right, so these next two are like. So the next two are not interchangeable. Like definitely they're ones that are like my number 2 is very set, but I like them and have problems with them, almost identical problems with them, and almost identical reasons for liking them. Anyways, number 3 is Hawkeye. Number 2 is WandaVision. Why Hawkeye? So why I said that is like they're all I loved them both until the final episode. They both have, you know, kind of quirky like worlds you're in. Yeah. Like one like Hawkeye being like almost a Christmas movie you're watching, you know, very, you know, different there. Yeah. But I really like the worlds. I really like all the characters you meet are super fun. They, you know, you care about the right characters, you care about what's going on in the world, and then they introduce some really big things. You get Kingpin, you get uh Yelena being in it, you get that whole side, the whole assassin side of it coming in, the whole crime syndicate. You get Echo and all that, and like just bringing in a lot, but at the same time, like I feel like doing each character justice. Um, and yeah, the final episode, I really like the final episode of Hawkeye. I just feel like it didn't tie up ends as nicely as you'd wanted it. It's a little all over it's a little all over the place. And then yes, Kingpin, love him. Like, and I get like he's not the same Kingpin, of course, from Daredevil, but like at the same time, like he seemed like more powerful with not being as powerful. If you know what I mean. Like he doesn't have the same presence, but he's like
all I know
freaking got
is
hit by a car and was fine.
All I know is the fact that every step he took was pretty thunderous. So
I love the way they filmed him.
He was pretty good.
He was like menacing, but like that's what I'm saying. Like he didn't have the same like, and I get like he's doesn't necessarily have the same crime network he had and all that, but like I don't know. He wasn't. He didn't have the same like gusto.
Gusto. What?
He didn't that he had in Daredevil. But anyways, I really liked him. Really liked the episode.
Okay.
All right, number 2, WandaVision. Every second of that show until the final episode was fabulous.
Pretty good. Very good.
And like I've never ever watched a show that I cared so much about after the first episode. Like I love Dick Van Dyke, but that wasn't even it. Like the fact that like there was so much to think about after each episode, try to figure out. Like I poured so much time. I rewatched the episodes over and over, and I can just keep rewatching them. It's every episode is so good and so entertaining, and just like the plot's really interesting. The twists and turns and everything they throw at you. The speculations online were endless. Loved reading every minute of it, watching every video, breaking every little Easter egg down. It was just fabulous.
That's interesting.
Then the final episode, I don't think it was bad. It just was like such like a letdown from how spectacular everything had been, to then just have this like CGI fight scene up in the clouds was meh.
Yeah.
But I didn't hate it. I didn't hate it.
What about the whole reveal that she technically didn't get her powers from the stone? Because I know there was that whole flashback of her going up to the stone. She faints. She sees herself in there. And I think Agatha says how her powers were dormant.
Okay, so what implications does that have? All right. I think a lot of it was just so much of them like toying with us about mutants. I think that was like the big reason that was there. Like was it mutant abilities? I think they pretty clearly state by the end of it that it was magic, more magic than anything else.
Okay, yeah.
Yes, they could still, but I think they put that in there so like when they bring the mutants in, they can make her a mutant with it making sense, but they can also make her just like a magical being with it making sense. But they didn't say like you did not get your powers from the stone. And so like I think what they like set up there was like she can now be a mutant, she can now be like a sorceress, but she can also just be like the Wanda that we had. So like they kind of like left all their options open with still like building a ton of intrigue around her character.
Okay. So yeah, I haven't seen the show in a while. And
I haven't watched it in a while, but I watched it a lot of times.
Which I'm surprised you didn't really.
I was just kind of wondering where you were going, like what you actually meant by that.
Yeah, like I was curious about the whole.
I felt like it seemed like you asked a yes or no question, and there was no way I was giving you a yes or no answer. Yeah. Anything you have to say about other?
Well,
the soundtrack also. Oh, so good.
Well, yes, I actually really loved the whole like the show being in different renditions of older TV shows, which was kind of interesting to see. It was interesting to see that in the way as because of how Wanda had seen those shows in her childhood.
Yeah.
Which was very interesting. I definitely loved seeing how we could see her kids being with powers, which was very interesting.
Speed and Wiccan. Yeah.
I want to say I really liked Vision, but again, this is going to the whole. I don't want to let me saying, "Oh, I haven't seen it in a long time, so I can't say I liked Vision." But
yeah, Vision was. I really liked Vision, or the portrayal of Vision from her subconscious or conscious or whatever for her. Wanda's Vision was great, and then White Vision I thought was really good as well.
Oh yeah.
Very interested to see where they go with that whole him flying away, who he's going to become, a Jocasta type. I don't know. And I'm very interested in season 2 for sure. Also very interested in what happens in Multiverse of Madness.
Oh, that's right. I keep forgetting that she's going to be in there.
How powerful she has become with the Darkhold in her possession. Yeah. And at number 1, of course, I have Spider-Man No Way Home,
which we will talk about more on our Back and Forth movie review podcast, which is coming soon near you. Let's transition to our thoughts on the Book of Boba Fett. What are your thoughts on it?
Well, me first. We'll start with what I like about it.
All right.
Because that's a lot shorter of a list than I just what I like about it, the score, the soundtrack is really good. Really good. Love the score. The soundtrack through all the episodes has been really good. Has really been the bright spot in all of it. The first 2 episodes, we spent a lot of time in the past with him living with sand people.
Yep, as well as him just building his criminal underworld.
But I'm
his
just saying,
connection.
we spent a lot of time in that time, and I did not enjoy most of it. I thought it was very boring.
Very.
Didn't care about what happened to the Sandies. Didn't care what was happening to him or anything. In the modern time, I kind of was enjoying it for the first 2 episodes. And then the 3rd episode, we spent a lot of time in the present day.
Oh yeah.
And I didn't really enjoy it. I wanted to know more about it the whole time for the first couple episodes, and then the 3rd episode, I was like, okay, this is stupid. And I think this is why. It seems like there's this running theme through like all the episodes of him like needing to gain respect.
Yes.
And like that was really brought to the forefront in the 3rd episode. But he makes the wrong choices for that every time. Like he should not be in the position he's in. Like he acts as though he doesn't care.
Mm-hmm.
And like he's not changing what he is. Like he lived with the Tusken Raiders, like failing to like everything his whole thing was like him letting things happen to him and just like moving along, like just like helping out.
Yeah.
And they literally get killed, you find out.
So
and then he's doing the same thing in modern day.
That's true.
It's
that
like
is very true.
Why is this character stuck in this rut? Like maybe the whole thing is him finally getting out of this at the end, but that's such a boring story. I really hope it's not. Yeah. It's just
it better not.
It's like his focus is wrong. The execution of it just feels wrong, and like who he's choosing to like side. Though even like the 3rd episode, there's like biker gang guys. Like, I thought that was a cool concept. Executed so badly. Like, they're not menacing, they're not fun, they're just there. And then like the same thing, like him just like trusting everybody around him, and like not even like having a guard on him when he's in his little bath.
Yeah, like, it's like
every episode, it's like you just see him jolted out of it time and time again. It's just like, oh,
yeah,
I do not enjoy his character at all. I kind of enjoy the world, I guess, but that's about it.
So what I saw in the first 2 episodes, we just get a whole bunch, yes, of backstory as well as world building, I would say, of us just seeing the world that Boba Fett is in. I did really like seeing the Wookiee, because that is such a Hutt thing.
Yeah,
having a Wookiee gladiator / bounty hunter / bodyguard. It's just the way the Hutts are. I don't know how I felt about how fast that he was used.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, he was one like is it like the world? I think I like. Yeah. Just like every aspect of it, I'm like, I hope they explore that. When they explore it, I'm like, okay, that's what you chose to do, you know. And same thing like the Wookiee. Like, really, I thought it was kind of interesting. I didn't, of course, I didn't. I'm not a Star Wars guy. I didn't know that the Hutts used them all the time.
I'm sorry you had to hear this.
But yeah, then they just like throw him in, and he's like,
yeah, I don't know how I felt about that.
And then like he just like, in my opinion, once again,
but there's hope. There's hope because of who I want to come in.
Right.
There's a chance he'll come in now?
Maybe. But just like staying on that, like the way they use the Wookiee, like I don't know how I've always viewed Wookiees is they're very like they do what they do, right? Like that's it. Like they're not complex. They just like they fight. You know, there's ones that fight. There's ones, you know, like they do what their masters say, whatever. And then so like he should have just like walked in there and killed the guy, but he like goes in there with no weapons.
Yeah,
and then just like has this little fight with him, and it's like, what? That's like so boring. Oh.
Well, he is a Wookiee, and I don't understand why he didn't.
I mean, maybe like based on the fact that the Hutts just show up right after, maybe they didn't want him to kill him.
Yeah,
like maybe they were just trying to send a message.
Yeah, maybe.
Wanted to understand that.
Which I do not like how fast the Hutts just retreated after that.
I mean, like clearly, like what they said, right? Like they want their enemies to fight each other, right?
Yeah.
Like, which I don't know, feels like a Hutt thing to do. I don't know.
It definitely is, but I kind of wish they kind of stayed a little more. I'm not saying they aren't going to come back. They might be.
Right.
They might be coming back. Who knows? But the other things I liked about it was what Boba Fett says in the 3rd episode. It's just business.
Yeah, I liked the line, but I felt like maybe it's him changing a little bit his character.
That's his character. He doesn't hold a grudge.
Right. Yeah, right.
Doesn't.
Yes, for sure. But that's why I kind of wish this would have happened. Is he had just like, you know, he's like finally learning his lesson and like building a little group, putting a little team together. But he like it would have been so much better if he was like, it's just business now that you're not working for them, you want to work for me type of thing. I think that would have been like so much better because like that's what he just did. Like he like found people. Oh, I could maybe get these people to work for me. You want to work for me instead of me killing you? Yeah. He's like, but like I don't know.
I don't know.
His character kind of seems all over the place. I don't know. I didn't really care. I like you saw it coming and I didn't really. So I didn't know qualms with it.
So first thing is I don't know how I felt about the Rancor coming in, but and how they interacted with the Rancor. But I did like the fact that they mentioned that the witches of Dathomir ride Rancors. Because in the books, that's how they are. And it's I loved it. I loved it.
Yeah, my thoughts on the Rancor. I didn't know that's what it was called. I think they say Rancor once.
Yeah, they do.
I thought that it was interesting. I didn't love the scene where they're in there with it. I did like the fact that like you're not quite sure if you should trust the Rancor trainer or not. I kind of like that aspect of it, but that was about the only thing that I was like, oh, that's kind of interesting. I don't know what's gonna happen there, but once again, everything I've thought that about has turned out to be executed so poorly.
Yeah, it's been sad so far. For me being a huge Star Wars fan, the show has been kind of sad. I've been sad so far.
Mm-hmm.
Now, going to what we expect from the show.
Okay.
Anything?
I should probably start since I have very less expectations to you. Going in, I really wanted to like it. You know, I enjoyed The Mandalorian, and I had heard the score before going in. I was like, oh man, such a good score. Like, I think I could really get behind this if it. And then it was just so boring. The thing's just boring. I don't know what to expect. Like, I hope that there's some characters I would like to show up that I enjoy from other things, but I have very low expectations now, and not many. Like I really have no idea where they're going. I feel like it's just gonna. They have, is it 6 or 7 episodes they're doing? They usually do.
I want to say 7 episodes.
So like yeah, they have 4 episodes left. I guess I expect the next couple for him to be taking out these guys that just showed up, whatever the heck their name is, and then having to deal with the Huts after that.
Yeah,
that's about all.
Now, what I expect has been only one singular purpose. One singular thing is what I expect from this. The show can be super bad. I don't care. I want to see this because it was supposed to happen in the Clone Wars between these two characters. I saw the fight between two characters in the Bad Batch. You need to watch that show, by the way.
Okay.
Even though it is bad. Cad Bane.
I do love his character.
So there is a deleted scene from an episode that was supposed to come out where Boba Fett and Cad Bane have a duel, have a little draw, and that's how he gets the dent. That's how Cad Bane gets cybernetic implants. In Bad Batch, they show he has those cybernetic implants, which means it tells us that he fought Boba. He fights against Fennec Shand in that movie, in that show. And so you already have two characters that have met this character, and he hasn't died yet between the two. Tells me he might come in. There's a good chance. I feel like. Oh, just continue. Go ahead and say.
I was just gonna say, yeah, like that would be super cool. I'd love for that to be all tied in together. Love Cad Bane. If he showed up, that'd be much better than what I'm expecting. Yeah. But at this point, I kind of doubt it, unless it's like just one episode.
If it's just one episode, I will be sad, but I will be happy that they did.
I think he'd be a much better villain than what we got going on right now. That's for sure.
Oh yeah. Now, who's to say he isn't behind all this?
I mean,
there's no way.
He's not really a mastermind.
No, he is not. He is not. He is someone who is going to get the job done.
Right. That's what he says a lot. Yeah. Just get the job done.
Mm-hmm. But he is also a character who I believe will take revenge if he has the chance.
I feel like he kind of is a character that doesn't hold grudges either. He's kind of like just business.
So, as a bounty hunter life, you don't want to hold grudges.
Right. But I guess he could. Or I feel like it would be more like if he was hired to kill him, he wasn't able to, he would like, I ain't going to stop till the job done,
Yeah.
So I'm going to go kill him anyways.
Anything else?
I got nothing else to say about it.
Legit, there's a lot less than I thought we were going to say about these.
I had some high hopes going in, and
they kind of failed,
and not quite as interested as I had hoped. But maybe keep watching it. Maybe the next episode will be better.
Yeah.
So want to move on?
Shall we move on
to upcoming Marvel and Star Wars things. Do you want to go first or shall I?
You have a bigger list,
I definitely
so
do.
why don't I go ahead and
All right.
start? Of course, we have to be upcoming is going to be the Boba episodes, Boba Fett episodes. While yes, we have been pretty saddened by these facts that it's been a bad show, a boring show. I have high expectations for it. We also have season 2 of The Bad Batch.
Oh, did not know that was coming.
I honestly did not know that that was coming either until today. So
And season 3 or 2 of Mandalorian's coming, right? When's that coming?
Season 3. I don't think that's coming this year. I didn't see anything about it, but I can look again.
Anyways.
Then we have a Star Wars movie coming out this year.
Oh, what?
I think it's a Star Wars movie. I don't think
Is it like a nice Star Wars story or whatever?
Yeah. Andor. Cassian Andor from oh man, why am I forgetting the name of it? The first Star Wars story. Rogue One. Yeah, I was thinking of like
I don't know who Cassian Andor is. But...
the guy, the rebel who was like was like angry and then fell in love with the main character at the end, and
the pilot guy,
not the pilot.
Oh.
Okay, cool. Okay, I wish I could explain it better. I'm horrible at explaining.
Well, I thought they all died.
They did all die. They're going back.
Oh, they're going back further. Another boring movie. Cool.
Yeah, so they're going to explain why Cassian Andor is like this.
Okay, why he's angry all the time.
Why he holds such a grudge. Why he was going to kill her father.
Yeah. Yeah.
He was definitely so clueless right now.
He definitely was going to do that. All right.
And there was nothing else.
So is there a Ahsoka show coming out?
There is, but I don't think that's coming out until next year, actually. Okay.
All right. Well, Marvel's got a lot coming out this year.
Of course, it's Marvel. What do we expect?
Yes, they tend to do this. So Morbius is coming out.
Oh yeah,
got moved back from January 28th. I think they moved it back to April 1st. Kind of sad. I was really hoping.
I thought it was August.
No, April 1st.
Oh.
Maybe that's a April Fool's joke, and it's actually coming out in January or August. I don't know, but that's what I heard. Moving back to April 1st, which is sad. I was hoping to see something this winter from Marvel, but we'll have to start with The Batman coming out in March.
Oh, yeah.
March 3rd.
That's not Marvel, but yeah.
It's not Marvel, but it looks interesting at least. But I haven't seen any of it. Is there any new trailers or anything that come out?
It's just dark.
Do you have any expectations for it?
I expect it to be very good. Very good.
I mean, I expect at least good acting. So,
yeah.
But yeah, I know very little about it.
I really don't want to say it's going to be better than like The Dark Knight.
But you do have high expectations.
I do have high expectations.
I don't have high expectations. I really hope it's good, of course. And I've been, trying to avoid all things about it. And I've done a very good job. I literally know almost nothing about it. So I'm excited to see it. Then shows coming out would be Miss Marvel, Moon Knight, and She-Hulk, which we don't have a release date for any of them set, though I think they're coming out Moon Knight in the spring, Miss Marvel in the summer, and She-Hulk in the fall.
Yeah,
but we don't know for sure.
I keep forgetting that Miss Marvel is coming out.
Yeah, I just watched the trailer for it.
Oh,
it actually kind of made me intrigued.
Really?
I've always liked the character of Miss Marvel. And I think it could be a really fun show for sure.
Okay.
How good it will be. I don't know. Moon Knight, also watched the trailers for it. It looks amazing. The visuals, even just the trailers, the visuals look so good. Oscar Isaacs looks like he's going to kill it. And Moon Knight's character is just a really fun character. It's being how gritty he is. I don't know how it's gonna play on Disney Plus, but we'll see.
We shall see.
And then She-Hulk, I just watched the trailer for that. which was like nothing. I don't know. It was just a little teaser thing. Gave nothing away.
Just showed She-Hulk.
Yeah, I don't know. It was.
That's usually what like a little teaser is. Just shows our hero and.
I don't know. Yeah, know nothing about it. Look, didn't really intrigue me all that much, but I've just like based on what I've heard about the show, I'm pretty intrigued by it. So then on May 6th, Multiverse of Madness comes out.
Oh,
and I am so excited for that. The trailer for that was actually really good. It gave away way too much, of course, but it really intrigued me. Then I'll have to refrain from saying much more because there's some things in that. I'll just say.
Oh my goodness. I do know that Wanda is in it.
Wanda, isn't it? Yeah.
I don't know any, but I have no idea.
And that's why I'll refrain from saying any more because there's some big things that it showed.
Yeah, I am excited to see Doctor Strange and
I am so excited to see Doctor Strange.
Doctor Strange and Wanda.
I am also very because we haven't seen Wanda since WandaVision. And it's literally, I think, in the Marvel timeline, it's going to be like just about a year since then, and so she should be stinking powerful. It's gonna be interesting.
Yeah, because there was that end credit scene where she's sitting there with the books,
the dark old looking through, becoming the Sorcerer Supreme. I don't know. Becoming the most powerful.
He really wants this to happen.
Doesn't he say you're the most powerful sorcerer or something like the most powerful? Or he says like I'm the third most powerful. Or
he says something about the most powerful.
I think she's supposed to be like the most powerful, and that's why he's going to her for help.
Yeah,
so that could be cool. And then Thor: Love and Thunder coming out in July.
Oh yeah,
July 8th, I think.
No, I know nothing about this movie.
I know almost nothing about it. I don't know if I don't think they come out with trailers or anything. I don't think so. I know I saw this like news article like first look at Jane Foster's Thor outfit or whatever. I've avoided it. I don't know which one of us is going to be watching the trailer.
Yeah, we have to figure that out.
I have very low expectations. I'm sure Taika Waititi is a great director. But like I don't know the whole like Jane Foster becoming Thor, like what they're gonna do with Chris Hemsworth. There's a lot that could happen, and I could love it. Maybe I should have higher expectations. I wasn't the biggest fan of Ragnarok, and I hope it's good, but expectations are kind of low. And then November 11th, we get Black Panther: Wakanda Forever.
Oh yeah,
and that I'm excited for.
I'm excited, but also terrified.
I'm very terrified. Where they're gonna go without Chadwick Boseman does terrify me. Who's gonna be Black Panther? Is it gonna be Shuri?
Oh dear.
Or is it gonna be
yeah, like we
girlfriend character, whatever her name was, or is it gonna be Yuri, or is it gonna be Yuki? Was her name Yuki?
I forget. I cannot remember any of their names.
So anyways,
I'm horrible with names.
Or is it gonna be another guy? I don't know. Is like his like rivalry guy?
What the
gorilla?
Oh, that guy.
Why would it be him? I'm just saying. I don't know. I have no clue where they're going with it at all, and I don't think they've released any trailers or anything. Yeah.
Nothing.
So that's what's coming out in the MCU.
It's actually a little shorter than I was expecting.
I mean, there's other stuff that is coming out, but that's coming out in 2023.
Yeah. Well, I was expecting a little more than
Quantum Mania. I could keep going, y'all.
let's.
What if season 2, Loki season 2, spin-off Agatha, spin-off.
Oh yeah. I was expecting that to come out this year, actually. The spin-off Agatha show.
I'm pretty sure I don't think they've announced a date, but I'm pretty sure it's 2023. Okay. Spin-off of what's the other spin-off show they're coming out with?
Possibly is it like Hawkeye or
Oh yeah, spinoff Echo, spinoff.
Echo.
Yeah. And Daredevil's coming.
Oh yeah, we
Daredevil season 4 is coming, and a Daredevil MCU thing. We don't know what that is.
Yeah. All right. Anything else?
Not that I can think of.
All right. To conclude this episode, let's talk about what Back and Forth is bringing to you. Rogue Gambit, would you like to tell us?
Of course. Back and Forth will be releasing their movie review podcast, in which we will talk more in depth about Spider-Man No Way Home. And then our second episode of Back and Forth will be releasing next week, where we will rank all 31 Marvel MCU movies and TV shows.
So, always remember this. Never put yourselves inside a box.
I'll see you next time.